Yo, 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 it's your boy MTJF Jam Express, DJ Shaw 305 in the building. Before we get started and we talk about the day, I'll make sure y'all hit the subscribe, the like button, and hit that notification bell so you can stay up on all the new videos and content coming to the channel. Now, let's jump right into it. And today's topic, we're going to talk about 80% lowers, polymer 80 frames. I'm getting a lot of questions about what we should and shouldn't do, what's the legalities of it and everything else. So I'm gonna try and clear it up for everybody and see what's going on and let everybody know exactly what you can and can't do depending on your state rules and regulations in terms of carrying a firearm. So with that being said, I'm speaking from Florida. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna talk to you about the Florida rules, but they kind of govern almost through all states. California, y'all got some other things going on. But the biggest question I get right now in terms of the 80% lower or the polymer 80 is gifting the gun, or can I buy the parts or whatnot, put it together and give it to someone? So to answer that question, it goes like this. In the state of Florida is no different than me going, say, for my significant other or my wife or my mother, my father, for like an anniversary gift or something like that. Say I wanted to go and I wanted to buy firearms and we all had matching firearms. I can buy it and I can give it to them as a gift, as long as my intent wasn't on getting anything in return or selling it to them or getting any type of compensation back from me buying the gun for them or the firearm for them. It's not a problem. But the catch is you can't do like a straw kind of deal, because it can't be something where it's like your significant other or something says, okay, well, I want a gun, but I don't know what to buy. Here, I'm gonna give you money. You go buy what you think is best or whatever. I notify you and be like, oh yeah, well, I bought this gun or whatever else I think is a good gun. You give it to them or whatever else, and then they end up selling it or giving it to somebody else. Then no, you can't do that, because they should have went and bought the gun with the money themselves and had somebody working at a manufacturer or dealer or a FFL dealer tell them the legalities and what's best and what they should choose and all that other stuff, or what they like based on what they're looking for. So you can't do that. But if you buy an 80% lower polymer 80 and you buy the kit and you don't necessarily put the kit together, you can give that to whoever you want to give it to. They can give it to whoever, as long as it's not completed. Now, once it's completed, if you're giving it with the intent of getting something in return for it, then yes, you have to register it. It has to go through your local authorities and everything else. The same spiel that you would if you were going to buy a firearm from a FFL dealer. So yes, in that regard, you do have to do the proper paperwork on it and have it registered with your county and city. But if you are giving it as a gift, meaning if you're new to the 80% lower polymer game and you say, you know what, I'm going to buy this, the spouse or whoever it may be does not know that you're doing it for them or whatever else, you put it together and you say, you know what, here's something as a gift. You're giving it to them with a gift, no intent of getting anything in return for it, not a problem. So on that note, gifting is fine, just as long as there's no intent of giving it to get something in return. You have no issues. And in the state of Florida, I can go buy a firearm, me and my wife matching firearms, and I can just give her one I bought. But it can't be something where she gives me money to buy a certain firearm, or she has an input on what is bought, or I'm buying it knowing that I'm going to resell or use it for some type of capital gain or something in return. So no, you can't do that. Another question I get is about carrying. Can you carry it the same way you would carry a gun that you purchase? And the answer is yes. You carry it the same way, same rules apply. So if you're like a felon or you're not supposed to have a firearm or whatnot, then same rules apply. You shouldn't be ordering or buying the 80% lower or firearm in the first place. So that's a no-no. So you would be stupid to even put yourself in that position. If you know you can't have one, don't get it. and don't try and circumvent the system of going through the proper steps to own a firearm legally by trying to get a 80% lower polymer 80 frame to build you a assault rifle or some type of handgun. So that's no. But for a concealed carry, if you have your permit, you have your bill of sale from where you purchased it and everything else, I would always say keep that paperwork in your car or wherever you're going handy on you, so you can show where it is a polymer build. You did purchase all these things the legal way. You put the skill into finishing the frame. You bought all the other parts and everything else. So I would always say keep that handy, like a copy of something in your wallet or something like that. So if something happens, you get stopped by law enforcement or something else like that, you can notify them and say, hey, listen, here's my driver's license, here's my conceals, my weapon is a polymer 80, here's my receipts or whatever else I bought or whatever the case may be, where you got it from. That way they know that at that moment in time you have a DIY polymer 80 handgun that you carry for your own personal protection. And same rules apply. Don't carry it on you if you don't have a concealed license. There's certain places you should not have a firearm in the first place. They teach you that when you go through your training course. They tell you the places. There's handbooks and there's pamphlets and booklets out there that let you know and stay abreast with the new regulations for your state. So same rules apply in carrying a polymer 80 as they would if you bought one over the counter, paid taxes, background check, and everything else. So same rules apply there. If you're not supposed to have one, don't get it. I'm just saying you're gonna put yourself in a lot of trouble. What's another question I get? Another question I get is resale of it. Now, yes and no. If you purchase a polymer 80 and you don't have the intent on reselling it initially, then there's nothing, no problems. Now, if you're actually purchasing the kit to put it together to finish them, to sell them to a friend or someone or the mass public, then yes, you need to have those guns serialized through your local firearms branch of your state and city. You need to have it registered. You need to have done a background check through the ATF and everything else before you go about selling that. You need to have the proper paperwork in order if you are doing it with the intent, because once you cross over and you say, I'm going to build these with the intent of making money off of it as a completed firearm. Now, that's only if it's a completed firearm, meaning the frame itself has been milled out. The other 20% that's left to do has been milled out, and you know that your intent was to buy at a bulk, mill them out, put them together to spec, and sell them to make revenue. Then you need to make sure that they're serialized, they're registered, and you go through the proper paperwork, because you at that point become a dealer and a manufacturer, and that's something different. You have to have legal paperwork on that, so you don't want to put yourself in that position. So if you're not doing it with the intent to sell, then fine, no problem. But if you are going to do it to try and make a revenue, to make a living or something else like that, then you need to go through the proper authorities to make sure that that firearm is licensed, and that people can actually come and buy it, and that you register with your local authorities and get an FFL license, and you're going to have to do background checks and everything else with the ATF, so they can make sure that that serial number, if and when that gun is used in a crime or in a self-defense situation, that serial number matches the individual who purchased it from you. So yes, you have to do it that way. It's another question I've been getting asked a lot. I've been getting asked a lot, really, just is it legal? And it's 100% legal, because what happens is the frame itself, the Gun Control Act stated that the trigger housing, and this is for the 80% lures for AR style rifles and for pistols, the trigger housing where the trigger would go, as long as that's not milled out when you purchase it, it is not considered a firearm, and therefore you do not have to register it and everything else, because the work that needs to be done for where the trigger housing will go on either pistol or rifle, being that is enclosed, you can't buy it, drop a magazine, a slide, or whatever else in it, and pull a trigger on it and do harm to someone. It's not considered a firearm. So it's perfectly legal in the sense that you buy the frame unmilled at 80%. You do the milling on it, the other 20. You put your trigger housing and everything else in it, and component parts that you need to make it a working firearm, and you don't have to register it. You don't have to contact your local authorities, unless, once again, like I said, it ties back in if you have the intent on selling. But if you have the intent on using it as a personal defense weapon, or if you're using it as a home defense weapon, or just you want to do something that's different than going and buying an already ready firearm from excuse me, from the dealer, then it's perfectly legal. It's 100% legal, because it's classified through the ATF, and you can see on their website, it's classified as a DIY, a do-it-yourself project, where it takes certain skill and machines to actually mill out the lower frames to make them accept the trigger control group for each platform that you do. So I have to explain that to people. So at the end of the day, yes, it's 100% legal, as long as you're buying it, and you can't just have a trigger-ready gun where you can slap on a barrel or slide a recoil spring, put a bullet in the chamber, and release that slide and pull a trigger and fire. As long as you can't do that, then it's 100% legal. And this way, it's perfectly legal, because the trigger housing on both platforms, you have to mill yourself, so it's considered a do-it-yourself project. So in that regard, it's 100% legal. What's another question I get? You touched on resale. I know everybody was talking about resale. Can I sell it? Can I sell it? Can I sell it? No, you may not sell it if you finish it and you don't register it, because at the ending of the day, you are classifying yourself to be a manufacturer or a dealer. So you're going to need to do proper paperwork for that. So don't even do it. So it's best that if you want to sell it, your best option to do is probably, because like I said, you can sell components. As you all know, or may not know, if you're building an AR or even a handgun, is certain components that are not classified as firearms that you can have shipped directly to your front door. And this is no different. The frames are no different at 80%. So the best option for someone who's looking to make a retail gain or value off of the whole situation is to sell them intact. It's not a crime, because at the end of the day, I can have two 80% frames, and two people say, well, I want to buy it. Okay, I sell it to them, and once I sell it to them and I get a bill of sale and everything else, or a receipt, at that point, who's to say that they're actually going to take the time to sit down and mill out all these things to have a working firearm? They might buy it and might sit on the shelf and collect dust for years on end. So at the end of the day, their intent at the time might have been to have a working firearm, but then their intent never comes to fruition, and it's just like they just bought it. So it's nothing really negative about it. So in that regard, resale, unless you're selling it as a completed firearm, which means whoever finishes the milling, whoever drills the last hole on it, or sands down the last rail component on the frame and finishes that up, whoever is the last one to do the last drilling and sanding and smoothing and buffing and all the rest of that on there, that is your firearm. So at that point in time, you have taken on the responsibility of that firearm, and all legal aspects of that go into play once you finish. What else? What was another question I got asked? I know gifting was a big one. Resale was a big one. Was it legal? Was another one. Personal carry, same rules apply as if you had a concealed license and you bought one. Felonies, and that's simple. If you have a felony or you're a felon and you're not supposed to own a gun, period, don't buy it. Don't put yourself in harm's way. Don't even do it, because the moment you get caught with it, especially if you buying it as an 80% lower, even though you can buy the 80% lower because it's not a firearm, the moment in time that you are caught with it sanded and filed down and the pinholes drilled out, if something was to happen to your home or something happened, you in a car and it's in the car and you're a felon, even if it might not even be yours, but you're in possession of a firearm, at that moment in time that is finished, that frame is finished, it is classified as a firearm. You are going to get in a lot of trouble. So don't put yourself in that position. I think those are the biggest questions I got. I hope I explained them. And like I said, all of this information, you can go right over to the ATF website, and they break it down even in further explanation than I do. But just the gist of it, from layman's terms, from the average Joe Blow, the average guy that's buying a firearm, that's using it for personal protection, that's really what it boils down to. It's a great trait and skill to know, and it teaches you about gun safety, the workings of a gun. You understand the firearm a lot better than those who just go buy one and say, I just want one. You understand what you're buying. You understand the difference between a 3-pound trigger or spring and a 5 or 6 pound. You understand about barreling. You understand about finishes. You understand more about your firearm. So I mean, it's good. And then you know that at any given time, if you get into a jam, you know how to break it down, how to put it back together, how to clean it. You understand the workings of a firearm, and that's really good. And this is what it teaches you. And also, it gives you a chance to be able to personalize something on a more personal level for yourself or a significant other or something like that. So if you and your wife or husband are avid, I don't know, Knicks fans or something like that, you can customize something 100% yourself, and you guys can have that to share together. And that's something that's great. And that's the good thing about it, because at the end of the day, if you bought one that was OEM from any manufacturer, the amount of money you're going to spend on going and get stippling done and going and get trigger work done and coating and all this other stuff, the amount of money you're going to spend is going to be double what you would get or what you would spend if you just went ahead and you bought component by component and put it together yourself from your liking. And now a lot of manufacturers and a lot of dealers now know that, and they're starting to break the guns down and sell it individualized like that, where people can customize it on a more personal level. And then you have a lot of smaller companies who are doing Cerakote work, who are doing engraving, who are etching, laser etching different slides and things like that. And you can serialize a barrel and a slide to all be your own, so it even gives you more of a personal feel. So instead of being some random number from Ruger or Smith & Wesson or Glock or whatever, some random 0719846003 instead of being some random number, you actually can personalize it in a number variation to be yours. So it can mean something. It could be the date of which you completed your build, or it could be an anniversary date, or it could be a birth date. It could be anything. It could be the model you know, whatever model car, airplane engine, or something like that that you like, you can customize it the way you want. So that's the beautiful thing about it. So once again, I hope I've explained the questions a little bit more that's understandable. Remember, subscribe, like, hit the notification bell at the top, and we're gonna have more videos coming. I got a lower parts kit coming in the mail because I got a polymer 80 compact build I'm doing. So I'm gonna have a video when the parts kits come in, of putting the lower frame and the slide and everything together. So we're gonna have that. I also have a review of an AR that we're gonna do. So we have different videos coming, so make sure you subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. And we're probably going to have some giveaways coming in the near future too, so you want to make sure you stay abreast. But once again, it's your boy MTJF Jam Express DJ Shaw 305 signing out. Stay humble.